Hi.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
So welcome. Thank you for coming tonight to Family Weekend and to our conversation. My name is Scott Higgins. I am the chair of the College of Film and the Moving Image. And tonight we have a discussion tonight of television and liberal arts and comedy and your mother and how I met her. I am devastatingly happy and proud to welcome back to Wesleyan from the graduating class of 1997, which is very recent, Craig Thomas and Carter Bays.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
So after graduating, they wrote together on Late Night with David Letterman and other shows, and then they launched a story about young adulthood that ran for 9 seasons and gave America its 5 best friends. They proved that situation comedy about young New Yorkers could still be funny and touching, and for once could actually be interesting. They reminded us that television comedy could be visual. They made popular entertainment that rewarded watching as much as it did listening, and they corrupted our youth. They proved time and time again that you could get away with murder on network TV as long as you had Neil Patrick Harris or Allison Hannigan delivering the punchlines. They were very naughty on that show. They led the show to 62 major award nominations and 10 Emmy wins. Let's see, they never explained the pineapple, and they left us wanting more. We're delighted that Carter's wife, Denise, and Craig's wife, Rebecca, another Wesleyan graduate, are here in the audience with us tonight. So, welcome back, Carter Bays and Craig, wait for it, Thomas. We'll have a little talk with me and them for a couple hours, and then I'll let you have a question. That's how it works. So my first question for you is, why television? Is there something about the weekly series storytelling that appeals to you as a way of creating characters and moving audiences?
I feel
like this is you.
Like the first answer to that question, I think, was it was a steady job. I think it was actually Craig and I were both English majors. We were both very interested in fiction, which I don't think maybe we had the stones to set out as fiction writers, and it was like that's a place where you could get sort of in TV as opposed to like fiction or film. Like it's you can if you're lucky enough to get such a gig, it's a steady thing that you have an office and you go in every day, and I think that appealed to us. But as far as a medium of storytelling, it's more than anything else. It's creative control for writers. I think it's like in film, there's nothing like it. Like in film, you don't get it. I think, and in television, it's as simple as the person who writes the show calls the shots and is able to, decide what goes into the show, and that it seems kind of obvious that should be how it is, but it's not how it is in
Are you suggesting the screenwriter in film doesn't have full control over? That seems crazy. Yeah, I think we just were control freaks, and we figured that this was a way. I think we just love the idea of spending that much time with characters. Like we're enormous TV geeks. We're enormous fans of Cheers. Like Cheers is one of our favorite shows ever, and just like spending 11 seasons with people. Like when do you get to do that? Like in what art form do you get to spend that much time with people and get to know them and see them go through life? And I think deep down we're kind of wannabe drama writers. Carter was a playwright. I wrote depressing short stories no one wanted to read. We found a way to sort of add some penis jokes and make that into a thing. I just think it spoke to us as a way to tell these longer, arced out stories.
So in 2005, the sitcom was ebbing. People were talking about it dying. Reality TV was on the rise, and drama to some extent. So what made you want to do a sitcom, and was it worth Why did you think it was worth saving?
Yeah, everyone was talking about how the sitcom
Yeah.
was over because the ratings had changed, everything was dropping, and like Friends went off the air, and that was like considered the apocalypse. Like Friends is off the air, civilization may disintegrate now. We may no longer hold the same human values. Their cannibalism may take over. But we sort of felt like there has to be, and we'd seen so many shows try to be the next Friends and try to take that mantle. And ultimately, I think we thought there was another way to approach it.
Yeah, and I think also it was timing, and it was just where we were in our lives. You know, obviously, I don't think I speak from. I didn't set out to save the sitcom. I don't know. It was, you know, I think Craig and I had a story that we wanted to tell, and that was that felt like the way. I mean, we're big fans of romantic comedy and like Billy Wilder and like just and being able to tell stories that have dramatic heft to them, but also make you laugh. And you know, I think we wanted to write about these characters, and we just happened to come along. Like it was like the fact that Friends went off the air. It was like we walked in to pitch the show to CBS, and CBS was. It felt like the last place that we could get the show on the air because it was Everybody Loves Raymond and King of Queens, and just didn't seem like it fit with what we wanted to do. But it was at a time when CBS, like the directive came down from on high, like we want to do a show like this, and so we were in the right place at the right time.
But I think it was completely naive. I think it was just like, let's write a show about us. Let's write a show about like my wife Rebecca is the basis, and to some degree, she's staring at me like, no, don't say this. But she's the basis of Lily a little bit. Whenever Lily does something really cool and not at all crazy and insane, that's Rebecca. Whenever she does something embarrassing, that's not Rebecca.
Wise.
More or less.
Well, this was a personal
this
show.
was right. This was right what you know. This
unusual,
was
right?
the absolute like trait, like write what you know. Like what? How do we just write who we are? You know, Rebecca and I were together since freshman year of Wesleyan University.
Wow.
And I always bend the facts there. Rebecca was a high school senior visiting the college. And we sort of got to know each other through that. And it sounds much more scandalous, so I just round her up that she was also an entering frosh, just because it's easier to tell the story that way. But we were a couple up to our 20s. We're the first couple we knew to get married, and Carter was at that point still single and kind of looking around, and he wanted to find the right person. And he was a really good guy. It wasn't like he was like, we didn't want to tell a story about like, your wife's sitting right there. It was like a sincere, lovely, wonderful, give me a minute, he was a great guy, he's my best friend.
So you're more Ted?
We wanted to tell a story about kind of that scenario, and it was just write what you know. I mean, we were not setting out to save anything. We were just setting out to tell a story that we felt we could tell 100 episodes of, and it became 208. And I think you can sense how much we had to stretch it thin over those 208, because we really only had about 100 planned.
Well, you did something really unusual, which is to build a sitcom around an enigma, and I don't know of another one that did that. How did CBS react to that? But also, why? Why did you do that? Did it affect your storytelling? You think it?
It did. First of all, I'll say CBS, like from the beginning, like of all the things that they actually were very on board with that, and we heard a couple times like, hey, maybe you should say Robin is the wife at the end of the first episode, and we said no, and they said okay, that's fine. And so it really was like they were very, very cool about that. And as far as like the enigma, I've actually thought about this because it really like the show came out of the first thing we had was the title. It was actually like on one of our notebooks, just a list of like cool sounding titles for things, and the phrase "How I Met Your Mother" felt like it's just a little haiku of a phrase that like that there's so much, it's so fraught, there's so much in there. It's a person telling another person how they came into being, and all the things that led into these two people meeting and starting a family together. And from that title, it felt like, okay, if we're going to make a show that's called How I Met Your Mother, if he meets her in the first episode, then episode 2 is not How I Met Your Mother. It's what happened after I Met Your Mother.
Right.
So, and literally, I think just out of that little leap of logic, it sort of made sense to us. Like, no, it has to be the end of the series when he meets her.
Were you reacting again? Were you trying to avoid the Ross and Rachel problem? Or
The problem of millions of people watching?
Yeah, it made terrible, horrible.
We avoided that problem quite handily.
Well, I thought it was very clever. The other thing, of course, you did was you did a multi-camera sitcom, but you didn't do live audience multi-camera sitcom. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we were so naive. We were like 29 when we wrote that pilot, and I realized like a lot of people in this audience probably hear that and go, "Wow, that's old." My point is that was kind of young. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, and we wrote this pilot script, and it had 73 scenes in it for 22 minutes.
Because
we weren't math majors.
Yeah, we were coming off of American Dad, where you could say, cut to exterior of the moon, one line of dialogue, and then you cut back to the living room. Like we were kind of used to just popping. We didn't process that every scene you write, someone's gonna have to build that set.
Yeah, there was like this sort of pathetic intervention that had to happen, where like our director and producer sat us, like 29-year-old me and Carter, down, and we're like, this cannot be shot in front of an audience. They're like, the audience will need to be hydrated, and there will need to be cots for them to sleep on. It will become like a hostage situation. You need to understand this is a show you shoot over days, and we sort of make it feel like it's an audience show. And ultimately, I think that we became this kind of chameleon on CBS. We sort of looked like we were one of these broad comedies in front of a live studio audience. We kind of like faked our way into fitting into that. But we did rewrites Monday, a table read Monday morning and rewrites, and then a run through Tuesday morning, which was like a chance to see the actors sort of performing it and in the sets on the stage. We would get some notes on that, and we'd do a rewrite till late at night on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning at 9, you rolled cameras, and you shot these epic shoot days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, often these really long shoot days. And I think the record was something like 87 scenes in 22 minutes, where you're just like jumping around, and people like hated me and Carter that worked on the staff and the crew. But they also kind of loved us because we kind of made them do like this deeper. They made them dig deep, and I think they felt like they did some of their best work.
Yeah.
But there were, people were like, these guys are really pushing it here.
Yeah.
But we turned it into this form of like kind of shooting it like it was a little movie, and we weren't playing for laughs in the back rafters. And we were shooting these more intimate scenes, and we were able to play with time and structure, and really chop up and sort of dissect and rearrange this multicam sitcom form. And I think that's why the show worked.
And it was also like just the speed of the process we really liked. Like we had worked on a single cam show, which is more like making a movie every week, and it really is like, I didn't know this, but like when you see like a single camera show, like Modern Family, or actually Modern Family is an exception to this, but like 30 Rock or The Office, every scene that they would shoot, you shoot the scene, and then they turn around, which means they move all the lights, and it takes an hour, and then they do the same exact scene from the opposite direction,
right.
And it's so slow, and it was so like it's hard to maintain energy in that environment, and there was just this kind of punk rock run and gun vibe to our set, where the actors knew like you get 2 shots at it, and then we're moving on, and they would just throw it all out there for every take, and I think it helped the performances to be able to shoot like that.
It also turned a lot of the comedy into editing instead of dialogue in front of the camera or people standing in a room. That's what I meant by you had to watch the thing, because if you're doing the dishes and this show's on, you don't know where anybody is if you look away. It made it more. I think it made a much more dynamic show. The insane number of scenes you packed into 22 minutes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and editing was another. It was like an economical way to give it energy. Like it is like, because you can't have explosions and plane crashes and stuff in a multicam sitcom. Like, the energy comes from just the rhythm of the editing and the speed at which someone's on the phone, someone's telling a story, you flash back, see a moment from it, flash back to the bar, so what happened next? Flash back to the story. Like, it let us just, for the cost of 2 sets, you could have a really exciting scene.
So the cast is hugely important in this show. I mean, did you know you had the right cast right away? Because it seems as though you perfectly matched character to actor. Did you have that from the beginning? And then how did your writing shift as you bonded with that cast? I mean, you're working with them day in, day out. Did that change the way you wrote them?
Man, I mean, like, making a couple of other pilots along the way, you just realize like how easily it can go wrong. Like, how many things have to go right to get the right people. People want to spend 9 years of their life with. And it was so much luck. I mean, Jason Siegel, like, we were such huge fans of him from the show Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if you guys are fans of that show, but it's like, it's an amazing show, like 18 episodes, and like, we loved him so much, and we wanted to get him, but he was attached to another pilot by Freaks and Geeks writers. And so he was like testing on our pilot, which means coming and auditioning to see if the network and studio would approve him, but also for another show. And he came up to us, and this was the weirdest thing, and he said, like, I really like your script better. I'm about to go audition for this other one, and I'm just gonna fucking tank it. And that's the moment we knew he was insane in the best possible way.
That was good.
And I think he did. I would love to see that audition. Whatever that audition was, he tanked it. And that's probably a really scandalous story to have told. I never asked him permission to tell that.
And it's horrifying to think of like all the things that we've had people.
I know. I don't know. Maybe he was joking, but I kind of don't think so. But he wanted to do this. My wife Rebecca said, if you're doing this show and it's a little bit based on me, you got to get Allison Hannigan to play me. Play me. And that was a really intense missive coming from Rebecca, where it was like, I'm not sure we can get Allison Hannigan. I mean, she's great. We were huge Buffy fans. Joss Whedon, huge, enormous, keep it in the Wesleyan family. And Rebecca got Carter and I into Buffy, and we had no idea. And we tried to get Allison, and this is where you learn you're 29 and no one gives a crap about you, because we said to the studio, like, we want to get Allison Hannigan. They're like, we can't afford her for your show. And we sort of begged and pleaded. I was like, but my wife said. And they gave us more money, and we got her. And Allie loved the script, and came in and said, I believe in the script. I want to do it and make it happen. And it happened. And for Barney, we had this idea that it could either be kind of like this Vince Vaughn, like skinny, womanizing, like
right.
aficionado kind of guy, or it could be like this Falstaffian Jack Black kind of guy. But we kind of pitched it more toward that latter one. Huh. And the studio and the network, when Neil came in, were like, but he's not fat. I thought this would be a fat, jolly fellow. And we sort of dug our own grave there, because we had to then convince, like, it was like Les Moonves, like the president of, I think he's now president of the world. I think he's in charge of everyone here. He was like sitting actually right in front of us. We were like 29, and we had like, for lack of a better term, kind of a funny fat guy.
Yeah.
And Neil, we had like kind of a jolly fatter fellow, and then Neil, but Neil had come in and auditioned, and literally we had him audition as a laser tag scene, and he did a flip in our office and like kicked the wall, and like a painting fell down.
All right.
And we're like, that's the motherfucker I want to go to battle with. We knew. But we'd already made our own problem, because we said it's a fat guy. Fat guys are funny.
Yeah.
And then so Les Moonves is like sitting right there, and Neil has just auditioned, and the other guy auditioned, and Neil did the same like crazy shoulder roll into like the wall. There's like a dent in the wall, and then they leave, and Les Moonves turns to Carter and I like, well, who do you think it is, boys? And we're sort of like, I think it's Neil Patrick Harris, sir, but maybe. But no, it's Neil. It has to be Neil, and he agreed, and it was Neil.
Well, it was also because everybody that we brought in, including the guy the poor guy that didn't get the role, if you read the stuff that we made this character Barney say, the things that came out of his mouth are just awful.
Oh yes,
awful things, and like everybody who read it, just one by one, like just one after another, you hear it, and you're so ashamed of yourself, and then Neil comes in and just makes it work somehow. Like somehow you're like on board, and you want to hear what he says next, and that's all you want when you're casting a show. You want someone that takes your shit and turns it into something good. So that was Neil.
And that was Neil. And then like our casting director at Megan Brandman at the time we were doing the pilot said like, there's this guy Josh Radner. He's great. He's like a theater guy. He's very sincere. Like he is this guy. And he came in and auditioned. He was our first audition, day one, like 9 in the morning, like #1 audition. Oh, wow. How many times does that happen when you're making a pilot? Like the first guy in your door where you're barely awake comes in. He does that big speech from the pilot that's about how he wishes how he thinks he'd be a great husband. You know, how this very like sincere, heartfelt, like I wish I could just skip to that part. And at the end of it, one of our casting director ladies, I think it was Megan or Dylan, I forget who said it, they were like, will you marry me? So they were so moved by Josh's portrayal of this one scene. And Connor and I were like, well, that's what you want.
Yes.
And so we cast him, and Kobe Smulders was like, just that classic story of like, she's from Canada, she's acted in like 2 guest roles on like 2 very forgettable shows in America, did a few things in Canada, but like nothing here. And it's basically like, you're either casting this girl and making her a star, or she will be gone tomorrow. And so it was just like, we had to, and she came in and she was Robin. She just was. Wow. And so those you know, never again in our careers, whatever we do, will it be this amazing, this casting process.
Yeah, they worked really well right from the start.
It doesn't go that way that often.
So I imagine that the rest of you have something to ask. So why don't we open up this to questions? If you have one, I believe that we have microphone people who will run you with a microphone. And so there's somebody right in front, right next to you, and then there's a person, is that Lily way in back? Please, just go to someone who has their hand up and take them on the microphone and let them
Who wants to testify?
Ask.
I got a question. Can you hear me? I was just wondering, because the kids got older over 9 years, did you tape the last show, their part of it, like early on? How did you do that?
Yeah, we taped that the beginning of the 2nd season. That was we realized that they were getting older, and we in hopes that would be a problem that we'd have to face, we taped them. We taped all of their stuff, and
they're now like 50 and 54, respectively.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah, we had shot that long ago.
With that in mind, how did you deal with the unpredictability of not knowing an end date? So like not knowing if you'd be renewed or canceled and season after season.
Drinking a lot, drinking heavily.
Yeah, I think we knew. I mean, we kind of had an end date. I think we thought 8 seasons, knock on wood, we'd get 8 seasons. And so we planned for 8. And then halfway through the 8th season, I think Craig and I felt like we still had gas in the tank. And I think the actors, some of them were like ready to move on, but it was kind of a like, wink, wink, pay me more money, I'm ready to move on. Mm-hmm. And I think we just, we loved it. And we wanted to keep doing it, but we also felt like, okay, we don't want to stretch this thing out too long. And then we had this idea for a whole season set over the course of a weekend, which was crazy, and it was it was fraught with so many problems, and there were so many reasons not to do it, except that we hadn't seen anyone do it before, and we just got really excited about doing it. And that was kind of like once we had that locked in, that we wanted to try this crazy storytelling device that made the 9th season exciting enough that it was something we wanted to take on as a challenge.
Okay, I have one question. So how do you feel about the audience reaction to the last season, and most importantly, the original ending? Because I can see like a huge divide of people reaction to the ending, and like I for one is a huge fan of the original one because I really think Robin deserved to be with Ted, and so yeah, how do you feel about that?
I was not aware there was any sort of controversial reaction at all.
Yeah, what?
This is the first I'm hearing of this. Everyone had an opinion. I mean, the funny thing is this is a weird answer to this, but like, we shot How I Met Your Mother not in front of an audience, right? Like, we shot it on a soundstage in this little bubble, and we edited it in this little edit room with our multiple Emmy-winning editor, Sue Fetterman, who was great. We lived a little bit in this bubble, and there was this weird sense, even though our show kept getting renewed and we knew the ratings actually rose in the later years of our show, which does not happen very often. But somehow I never understood how much people cared about this show until how much people freaked the fuck out about the ending. Which is great in a way. Like, everyone cared, everyone had an opinion, and we debated it amongst ourselves, and it could have gone either way. We had multiple things we were working on for what the ending could be. One of them had been for years long, but that we were also considering another way that it could go at the end. And then we shared the other one too on the DVD, for now on Amazon.com, $132. Yeah, I mean, it was an intense reaction, but also kind of an honor that people cared so much. And yeah, however people felt, that's okay. You put stuff out there and you let it speak for itself. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, going off that question, this is kind of a silly question, but why'd you kill her? Why'd she die? Sorry, hi, I'm right here.
Oh, hey.
Wow, that's challenging.
I mean, I love the ending. I'm sorry if it's a spoiler alert for anybody.
Thank you.
For anybody who
Yeah, we should say spoilers from here.
Yeah, sorry. But why have the mother die?
Why what?
Why have the mother die in the end?
Wow, that is a spoiler. Thanks a lot. I haven't even watched it.
I didn't know that.
Sorry, Scott.
Sorry.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Guys,
Do you still want to continue with this event?
I dropped the mic.
I mean, there's a lot of thoughts that we have on the issue, but one of them was to explain sort of why the story was told the way that it was, right? Why is it Ted telling his two kids by himself about his life? Why is he sort of talking about his life a lot before he met their mother? They know their mother. They know that they were a happy couple together for a long time. Ted's kind of telling about a different chapter, and it had a different meaning in the end. And to us, it had a meaning that could be about life's complexity and the fact that life has chapters, right? Like, life has these chapters. They don't all have neat endings. They don't all have endings that are what you thought they would be, and that last all the time, last forever. But there can still be beauty and hope, and there could be new discoveries or old discoveries, and there's. Let's talk after this event, because I could go on.
And it was also, I mean, and believe me, we're not fully like it's upsetting. It's really upsetting, and it's really sad, and I still get sad thinking about it, and it's. Yeah, I kept. I don't know if has anyone seen the Michael Haneke film Amour? You know that film? It's a French film, and it's horribly stark and sad, but also beautiful because it's just about this old couple, and they're dealing with the fact that one of them is dying, and it's sort of, you get the sense that they've lived this long, happy, romantic life and had this beautiful love story, and it's sort of what's haunting about it is that it feels like it's sort of exposing a truth that no one wants to think about, which is that every single love story, should the two people involved be so lucky, is going to end this way. And it's not something that people like to face, but it's if you leave the camera running on When Harry Met Sally, eventually they're going to face that That's another thing they're gonna have to face. And we, I think, wanted to show from the beginning what the show became was us trying to be truthful about relationships and about love. And this felt like kind of the last thing to cover. And it was really, I wish it didn't have to happen in the last episode. I wish it wasn't, the note to end on, but it's a part of life and it's a part of love. And that's, it's ultimately what I hope people take away from it, and what I take away from it is that, like, it doesn't make love any less great, that it has to end. And in a lot of ways it makes it better because it's something that you have to appreciate while it's there.
Yeah, we always looked at the show as, yeah, that's great. We always looked at the show as it was chapters of a life, right? And it's people say early on, especially people said, how is your show not Friends? And one of the ways it's not Friends is that it covered 25 years. Mm-hmm. And the finale itself covered 17. And we just had that ambition to show life over time and life over chapters and what happens over that time and how it's not always what you expect or plan, but can you still find hope and connection with people? Can you be grateful for what you had, for all the love in your life that you had with every friend and every romantic person that you ever had in your life? So it was about gratitude. So thanks for that question.
And when it was airing, most people loved the finale. There's a big data. Go look at The Atlantic ran a story about this company called Canvas that does big data like analysis, and they did Twitter feeds as people were watching the show, and 10 times more people loved the ending than didn't.
That's my dad's company.
Science
that was fake.
fact.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay, well.
And it's not to say that if you didn't love the ending, you're wrong to have that reaction. I mean, look, we're not sitting here like, guys, this is the right ending. We know. I mean, believe me, any debate that's happened since then happened before in the edit room. It got pretty heated, and it was this wasn't a decision made lightly. I mean, the fact, the alternate ending that I don't know if people have seen, I think it got leaked on the internet and stuff. I mean, that wasn't like, hey, some people are upset, so let's make this choose your own adventure and give people. That was like legitimately like there was we could have gone that way, and we really, to this day, I'm still not, I'm glad both endings are out there, I guess,
Well, the cool thing is what other show or movie or anything ever shared that, right? We felt like so grateful to the fans of the show for sticking with us for 9 years. I think like 5 or 6 of them were legitimately good. But we wanted to share like kind of our process, and I think it's kind of cool in 2014 that you can say to your fans, like, here's, now let you in on like all these debates we had and this other way it could have gone, and if whichever people like, we're honored that they care. That's about it.
So there.
Hi. So I was wondering, after graduating from Wesleyan, what was the process that led you to your first job?
How does that apply to the finale? Craig and I, the way we fell in love initially was we we knew each other from, we were in a band together, and that was fun, and we were in some English classes together, but we got an internship at MTV for the summer between junior and senior year, and that it was in the development department, and it was a cool time to be there because it was the year that like MTV decided we're going to start doing scripted television and scripted comedy and stuff, and so we were the ones reading scripts and seeing submissions for stuff that, I mean, most of it was terrible, but some of it was like South Park got pitched to MTV while we were there, and they passed on it.
And that show How Your Mother and I Met that we read?
Yeah, that guy wrote, who died mysteriously.
That kind of got buried.
Yeah. But that was in doing that we started. We knew we wanted to be writers, and that was kind of where we discovered like, hey, maybe television is a world that we could explore, and then we started writing together that summer, and the connections we made there, like the people we worked for. One guy in particular was friends with an agent in Los Angeles, and it's kind of a boring story in that sense because I think that's how.
Well, no, it's the one time that worked out.
Yeah,
it's the one time someone goes, "Hey, I know this agent in LA," and that's like literally to this day, that's our agent, and it made our career. So
yeah,
thanks MTV. I remember when you used to play music videos.
Hi, I'm going to take the focus, I guess, back to the show. I had a question about the umbrella since it's a running motif throughout the show. Why did you guys decide to make the umbrella yellow?
I can answer that absolutely. It's very simple. A red umbrella would have been like traveler's insurance. and the blue French horn, it felt like a blue umbrella. That would be. I think we went through all the colors, and yellow. I think it ended up. It might have been orange maybe, but yellow looks nicest in a dark rainstorm, and I think that was it.
This is the kind of scientific minds you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for this awesome talk. Let's say that you didn't go to Wesleyan, imagining a different future. How do you think this show and your lives would be different?
Oh my God.
Well, there would be no show.
Are we about to go into like a crazy flashback where we see like an It's a Wonderful Life, like the horrifying lives we would have led?
Craig is so rich and successful.
We would have probably done Big Bang Theory. Probably would have been. That made real money. That wasn't depressing at all. No one died. Look, I met my wife and my other wife. He likes it when I call him that. At Wesleyan. And that's, like we did an interview for the Wesleyan magazine earlier today. No big deal. We're going to appear in Wesleyan magazine. So, whatever. And the guy was like, has Wesleyan changed your life? I'm like, fuck yeah, man. It's like my wife and my writing partner. Like, it's totally life-altering for me. But more to the point, like, we were like playing in bands together, and we were in like English classes together. We were in screenwriting classes together. We wrote a screenplay. Janine Basinger as our advisor. Hello, and we had this amazingly diverse experience where like our weird soul band that we played in, where we had like $4 thrift store suits, was like equally as important as like how we did on our term paper. Like it was just like the diversity of experience. Like I think it taught us how to run a TV show and just like keep all of these crazy departments of your life important and tended to.
Because it felt like a place, and I don't know if I hope it's still like this. Like it was a place where you show up and you're expected to, do all your homework and do all the reading and everything. But also like if you have an idea for something, like you have like a humor magazine, you just create it. You write everything for it. You learn how to lay it out on PageMaker, and you figure out how where the people at the Argus go to print their stuff, and you go to that printer and say, hey, I want to print this thing. Like it felt like this spirit of like everyone's got something that they're working on, and every weekend you're invited to 6 different performances that people aren't even getting credit for, but they're just like, hey, come see my klezmer band. But like the spirit of just throwing yourself into a project and envisioning something and making it happen, which sounds so trite and simple, but that's show running, and that's I think it's not a surprise that so many showrunners happen to come from right here.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And so many great klezmer bands. Let's give it up for the klezmer bands that have become famous from right here.
I actually saw a sign advertising a klezmer band.
That's amazing.
That's where that came from.
That's wonderful.
So you guys had all these mysteries, like the goat and the pineapple. What made you decide to reveal some of those and not reveal other ones?
It was a case-by-case basis. I'll tell you the thing that I'm sort of, I know that like on the DVD we revealed the pineapple, and that was a moment for me that there was a wistful like, oh, should we have done that? Like I did feel like it was nice. It was a funny explanation. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it was nice it being something that like there is some fun in just a mystery never being solved. So that and actually I think that is why that ended up being a deleted scene as opposed to in the actual show, because some things it's nice to have. It's like on The Sopranos, the Russian guy running off into the woods, like, thank God they never explained where that guy ended up. Like it was it's nice having things just lingering out there. And that being said, if we had an idea that was like, oh well, this is too good of an explanation. Like the perfect example is what Barney does for a living. How we were going to keep that a mystery for the longest time, and then Chris Harris, one of our writers, walked into one of our offices and just said, "Provide legal exculpation and sign everything." And it was like, all right, that's funny. Let's just do that.
Because Barney always said,
because he always said, please. Yeah.
What do you do for a living, Barney? Please provide legal.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that's great. So we'll get to, our show ended. That's part of why we explained some of them. We gotta explain some stuff, but like, we love a mystery, and there's something great about leaving some of them unanswered. And I agree. I almost have mixed feelings about it too, that we answered the pineapple incident on the DVD. But if it sells more DVDs, then we get wealthier.
That's why we do this. This is why.
I'm buying it.
If you could have a 2-hour-long finale, what else would you put in?
Our finale plus the Cheers finale. That would just be the 2 hours. Just rerun that.
It's hard cutting things. I see when you say that, I feel, and I know that it's coming from the sense that like, we cut a lot of stuff, and it felt rushed, but just like the way we work, like if we had 2 hours, we would have written a great 3-hour finale. And had to cut an hour out.
That's the only way we know how to do it. It's really true.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of work in this volume business and then take out everything that doesn't feel absolutely necessary, and so that's.
You always, the finale was really important, but every single episode we ever aired, we had so many regrets of what we had to cut. We just classically packed too much into 21 minutes, 35 seconds. And in the 80s, it was like 24 minutes. That seems like this golden land. It's like, oh my God, imagine that amount of time. But like we always pack too much in, so it's true. If we had 2 hours, we would have written a 3-hour finale. That's just what it was.
Forced you to be efficient, right? I mean, do you think that was it's a good thing to have to do it?
No, I think it's way better in some ways to have constraints and to paint yourself into corners. Like you force yourself to fit into a certain box, and it makes you productive and creative and a little bit sad that you had to cut things. And there's things I wish we could have kept in the finale, for sure. But that's also true of every single episode.
Did you guys have fun slipping the Wesleyan references into the show?
Oh, that was the best part of our day, any day. Like that was, yeah, absolutely. Was it fun doing the Wesleyan references on the show?
Oh my God, yeah. The amazing thing was like, our writers who didn't go to Wesleyan would start pitching Wesleyan jokes. And they would like pitch like these things like, okay, they're all just like super fucked up in a dorm room. We're like, okay, wait a second, it's not all that. Like we studied, we were smart. But it was kind of cool, like our wardrobe people started putting people in Wesleyan t-shirts because they knew it would like make us happy to see that. And we just get to write, it's great to get to write about who you were a little bit at that time. Like actually one of my favorite lines I think I ever wrote for How I Met Your Mother was for like douchey college Ted, where Marshall was hoping to get a ride back to Minnesota with Ted because he knew Ted lived in the Midwest. And he said to Ted like, hey, wait, can I get a ride? They're like, yeah, you live in Ohio, right? And Ted says, my parents live in Ohio. I live in the moment. And like, I might have said that. Like, it's plausible that I would have said that. And, like, just, it's sort of great to look back at yourself and, like, laugh at it, but also realize the sincerity, like the passion I had about everything when I was here. Everything mattered. Whether I liked one song from a band mattered. Whether I liked this novel as opposed to the other novel mattered. Whether I liked a dance piece I saw with my wife or not, and we'd talk about it for 2 hours, mattered. Like, every specific thing was sincere and it mattered. And so any joke we ever did about Wesleyan was usually done with love and nostalgia for that time when everything mattered so much, and hopefully it still does.
Hi. Way back here. So I got a question. Throughout the seasons, you guys built Robin and Barney for Barney, but towards the end, I mean, mostly at the finale, you break them up. It almost seems as if you were just trying to hook Ted and Robin together. For
We're hearing every 18th word of that.
Yeah, sorry.
Forgive us. It's not you, it's the mic.
It's definitely me. Again, so throughout the seasons, you guys create.
Oh, we love it. Do you want to come up here? Do you want to?
Seasons, you guys create a lot of character development from Barney and Robin, particularly Barney himself, and then you build them up mostly at the end of the last season as the perfect couple going to break through the barriers, and then you drop them just so it seems so that Barney can Robin can hit up Ted, and a lot of character development for Barney just kind of falls through, which obviously the whole spoil the baby thing, except for that. Just wondering about the character development.
Yeah, I'll address it. Because we've heard that criticism, and it's definitely. It's weird. I feel like Barney's a bit of a Rorschach test, and we're kind of screwed that we had such an incredibly charismatic guy playing him, because the truth is, and like, God, there's some great romantic moments with Barney and Robin for sure, and I like the rehearsal dinner episode, their wedding was beautiful, but it was, I mean, if you had a friend and he got engaged to a stripper, and then they broke up, and then a month later he gets engaged to a girl he's known forever. 4 months later they're at the altar, and she's asking the best man to run off with her. It's not like it, and I know that that's like absolutely not the way that we see them, because we love them, and we love we love seeing people try to aim for something better than what they are, and try to improve themselves and get better, and I think they both do get better, but it's also there's a reality check, I think, that comes into play where they loved each other for sure, but it's not, sometimes it takes more than just loving each other. And it's funny, that whole the whole idea of them breaking up, I think, and of seeing their wedding and trying to capture this idea of like a romantic moment that presages the dissolution of a romance. It actually, there was a wedding that Craig and I both went to that was the most romantic wedding we'd ever been to, and it was two people that we cared about very deeply, and I've never seen two people more profusely declare their love, and they got divorced a year later, and it was a bummer, and it wasn't even an acrimonious divorce. It was we tried this and it didn't work out, much like Barney and Robin, and still to this day, when I think of, like, my wife and I went to the wedding together, and there's a picture of us from that wedding, and it's like the best picture of us. And it was so romantic and sweet, and I still think of that day as like a day that celebrated love and celebrated taking a shot at it. And it felt to us like you have to acknowledge that there's a chance that in the long run it doesn't last, to make it that much more incredible that two people take a shot at it. I know that might not be satisfying as an answer, but the whole thing is it's very fraught and emotional, and But yeah, that was
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of.
I think part of the premise of the show was, does something have to last forever for it to have had value? And I think Barney and Robin had tremendous value, and that was an amazing chapter of each other's lives. Was it necessarily going to last forever? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe Barney wasn't capable of that. I love seeing Barney have a kid and find the love of his life through having a little baby girl. That felt so wonderful to me. But does something have to last forever to have had value? I think in life there are chapters, and that's and some people didn't like that. Some people wanted them to be together forever and have it go on, and that's beautiful too. But that wasn't what we did.
Yeah. This too cannot last forever. We have one more question, I think.
You talk about the strengths and constraints of doing this show on the network versus a cable situation where you would have had a little more flexibility and maybe at least the language.
I think it goes back to what Craig was getting at earlier, that I think there's something exciting and enthralling artistically to have the challenge of working within a box and having only 22 minutes and having to, if we could show people lighting up bongs, then we wouldn't have come up with the sandwich joke. I think the roadblocks are what I think make it fun to write. And so I actually really enjoyed that, and I look at HBO shows and sitcoms, and I feel like if I maybe I'm just a prudish Midwesterner, but if I had people saying bad language in a script, I'd feel weird about it, and it's.
Yeah, I think there's something cool about just how do you. Our goal with How I Met Your Mother was how do we take this network form and make it into something else and make it just crazier and structurally weird and more dramatic than it had any right to be, and more twists and turns and mysteries and setups and payoffs that are years apart. I think, to bring it back to Wesleyan for a second, we learned to think outside the box at Wesleyan. So I think ultimately the message of this night is, if anyone didn't like how I Met Your Mother ended, it's really Wesleyan's fault.
Yeah.
Barbara Jen Wilson's like, why did you say that? No, I mean, I think we loved the idea of making something different within a very familiar form, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If we were on cable and you could kind of do anything, I think it would have been too much freedom. It was cool to make something different within the familiar.
Yeah.
I think that's what appealed to us so much about the forum.
That's terrific. Well, thank you guys for coming back.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.